So at the start I like to pull out the centre part of the cord a little bit and cut it away just to allow it to be hidden easier when I come to tuck it in. Find the centre hole in one of the small ends of the Moses basket base and insert the 7mm hook from underneath, and you're going to loop round the yarn and pull it through to the bottom. I like to leave the tail out to the side so that you can tuck it in as you go. You're going to put the crochet hook through the hole, yarn over and pull through. You're then going to continue with a single crochet US terms or double crochet UK terms. This will be in each hole throughout the entire base. I don't normally have the Moses basket base like this on the first round. I like to usually have it up on its side, which is why I've moved it here. Once I've got past the small ends of the crochet base at this stage, I normally have the base sideways up on my knee, as you've probably seen from some of my TikToks if you follow me on there. You'll soon find a way which you find most comfortable to hold the board at the different stages. I'm just going to do a few single crochets here, quite slowly just for you to see. When you're pulling up your second loop, make sure it's at the same height as the previous loop on the hook, and this helps just give it a more uniformed appearance. I'm just going to do a few of these single crochets for you to see, and then we're going to move on to the invisible join stitch. So I'm just going to show you the invisible join stitch now. Pull a longer loop from your working yarn and then insert the hook through the back of the first crochet stitch in this round, pull through the loop to the inside of the basket, and insert the hook from the outside of the basket through the V-shape made in the first crochet stitch. Yarn over and pull through, insert the hook through the loop on the inside of the basket, yarn over and pull through the two. You've now made the invisible join in the first stitch in your second row. From this round onwards, you're going to want to use the 9mm hook, and this is now the waistcoat stitch we're going to be using. So to do this, you need to insert the hook through the V-shape from the front, yarn over, and then pull through both loops. I'll do this a few times for you to see. For every stitch, once I've pulled through both loops, I like to push down the top of the stitch to make sure it is nice and tight and help give the Moses basket good structure and shape. I also like to shape the basket as I go after every kind of 5 to 10 stitches. So I'm just doing the invisible join stitch again here for you to see from a different angle. Each round now is the exact same until you get to the end of row 13. I'll do a few more waistcoat stitches here for you to see them at a different angle, and then we're going to move on and I'm going to show you what to do once you have ran out of yarn, because you'll probably need to change yarn about 3 or 4 times when you're making this Moses basket. So I'm going to show you what to do once you've come to the end of your yarn and you need to move on to another skein. So you're going to pull out the centre ends like I did at the start of the basket and cut them off just the same. So you're going to bring up a loop from the new yarn and continue as normal as if it was the same piece that you'd been working with before. So once you've made your first stitch with the new yarn, you're going to pull down on both tails to tighten them and continuing crocheting as normal over these tails to hide them. It saves you tucking them in later. So you're just going to continue on with the pattern in the Moses basket just now until the end of row 13. Now you're at the end of row 13, you're going to do your colour change here. To do this, you'll start your invisible join stitch just as normal, pulling it through to the back. When you insert your hook through the V, you will be pulling through a loop of the new coloured yarn. You then carry on as normal, inserting the hook through the second loop, yarning over and pulling through the two loops. You will just keep going with the waistcoat stitch here, but it will be for the first 16 stitches only. Once you've done your 16 stitches, you're then going to chain 10. After you chain 10, you're going to count out 8 stitches and skip them. On your 9th stitch, you're just going to continue on as normal with your waistcoat stitches round to the opposite side where you'll be putting in your second handle. I find the best way to figure out if your sides are going to be equal where your handles are is by bringing the centre in together and just measuring. So the last invisible join stitch is slightly different. So before you start row 15, you as before bring the loop to the back, but instead insert the hook in the middle of the loop created at the front of the basket and put the loop on the back on the hook and then pull through. You're now just going to slip stitch every stitch all the way around until you get to the end. Slip stitching the handle can be quite tricky, and I usually find that I need to start using my fingers as well to help pull the cord through. Once you've got to the end stitch in this round, you'll cut the cord if you need to, mine was already cut, and pull through. Bring the yarn up through the first slip stitch of that round and insert it from front to back of the last slip stitch to give yourself a fake slip stitch to finish the basket. Pull this end through to the back of the basket and then weave it in through the top until you can't see it. Make sure that it's tucked in neatly, and that's it for the basket itself. So now we're going to move on to the tassel for the basket. So you're going to make a lark's head knot and bring it forward and tie yourself a double knot with a little hook left. The rest of this is pretty self-explanatory just by watching, so I'm just going to let you watch and learn that way. I tie knots at the bottom of the tassel and then cut them off very, very close to the knot. This is to prevent them from fraying past the knot. It's entirely up to you if you wanted to do this or if you wanted to just leave them as they are. The length of any of these free hanging cords on the tassel as well cannot exceed 22 centimetres. That is part of the BSEN 1466/2014 standards. Any longer than that can pose a strangulation risk, so please do not have long tassels on the Moses basket that you make.